Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barb Gullen, coming from the Super Bowl bound Kansas City. And in the studio with me today is my partner in crime and co-host, Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I am fantastic, Barb, and you've got to be excited about the possibility of a three-peat, right?
This whole city is just agog with all of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I understand now why everybody hated New England back in the day. Um, it's a thing.
Yeah, the rest of the country might not be rooting for the Chiefs, but Chiefs fans are sure happy.
Yeah, and once again, it was a nail biter. So,
Yeah, yeah.
it
It was
it
a good game. That was a great game.
it
That
was.
Buffalo game, I thought
It
it was a
was.
fantastic game. I mean, yeah, I can only hope the Super Bowl will be as good. I don't think it will be. I think the Chiefs will have no problem, but you never know. Saquon Barkley on the other
That's what I
side
was
is
gonna say is,
pretty good.
it's a different Eagles team. It's a different Chiefs team
True,
than met a few years ago. Um,
but the coaching. I mean,
well,
you've got the coach. That's what you've
we
been doing
do,
is
but
out coaching the teams.
I looked up the odds yesterday, not that I'm a gambler, but it was just we're like 1.5
Yeah,
point
one and a
favorites,
half
one
one
and
and
a
a
half
half point
points.
favorite.
So even the
Yeah.
odds makers think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that Buffalo Bills game was great. I enjoyed watching the Chiefs and the Bills go at it,
Mhm.
and that was an entertaining football game. Hopefully, the Super Bowl will be the same. And for you and all the Kansas City fans out there, I hope that the Chiefs win. I'm not a huge fan of the Eagles fans. I like some of their players, Saquon
Mhm.
Barkley, but I think the thing is you've outcoached the teams, other teams.
And that is all Andy Reid.
Yeah, he's
And
amazing. He is
yeah,
amazing. And he's an amazing person. Everybody loves Andy. I mean, even the people who are like Kansas City again, I don't want, I'm sick of the Taylor Swift thing. But I'll tell you what, Andy Reid, man, you got to hand it to him. People love that guy and he's so well respected. So,
yeah,
well,
and I think you've got to, when you look at it, you've got to realize that, I mean, Taylor has just kind of slipped into the football world. She hasn't
right.
tried to take it over.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's nothing. I mean, people are just like because so much focus is. It's nothing to do. She
Mm,
doesn't do it on
no.
herself. She's just there. So she's supporting the team, and
Mhm.
her bestie is on the team, so she's there. But her popularity overwhelms the
It
media. The media is the ones that make it
Yeah,
a big
it
deal.
does. Now,
Yeah.
I have lived in Kansas City since 1981. I can honestly tell you, I've never been to I've been to one preseason football game for the Chiefs my
Oh.
entire time living here.
Oh
I've never
wow.
been to a regular season
Oh
game
really.
or a playoff game.
Oh wow. Okay.
But I have heard that Taylor does a really good job of interacting with the crowd and is not standoffish or anything
No,
like
yeah,
that.
no.
You know,
I've heard the same thing, yeah.
um,
I've
and
heard the
that's
same thing.
you know,
That's
Taylor
good.
Swift is actually a good segue into today's topic.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, because
because we're
she's
talking.
made friends with her money, I bet.
She's made friends with billions of her money, and that's what we're talking about this month.
Uh-huh.
Because we are hosting a rather large Wine, Women, and Wealth event on March the 6th
Wow.
here in Kansas City. And any women who want to register can go to our website and the registration is open there. We'll also be registering people down at the KC Love event down at Union Station on February 15th and 16th. So I'm excited about all of that
That's
going on.
great.
Uh,
That's awesome. You always stay so active in the community, Barb. That's why I like you.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous opportunity to be out there and serve and to give back in
Yeah.
some ways. And that's not, I take that responsibility very seriously.
Yeah.
So,
I
you
know
know,
you do. I
we
think that's great.
we care about that as a team, and a lot of us care about it personally as
Yeah.
well.
I think that's great. That's fantastic. In fact, I'm going to be on the right-hand side. You're in charge. Do you see that?
Oh, okay. I did see that. That was a nice flip there.
Nice and subtle for the viewers. Like, what happened?
We knew we forgot to do something before we hit record.
That was my bad.
Oh,
Yep, we had our recording time got pushed back a little bit today. We each had some technical issues, and
we did.
sometimes that happens. But it's great to be here because I love the title you came up with for today's show: Why Women Should Make Friends with Their Money.
Yes.
And what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that women are really, really good at managing day-to-day expenses overall. If you do it, there was a survey done, I don't know how many years ago, but it was even in a married couple situation. In 80% of those households, it's the women that manage the day-to-day finances, get the bills paid, um, and figure out the grocery budget, which right now, first of all, you're lucky if you can find eggs, and I did find eggs last night, but I paid like $6 for a dozen and a half eggs.
Yep, the bird flu is
Hmm.
really taking a hit
Hmm.
on egg prices. They're going through the roof. Yeah.
Yes. But when it comes to figuring out how to invest their 401k plan, or even having a role in, if they are married, in that long-term investing for the household, there are a lot of women that are afraid or that don't know how to engage in participating in those things. Especially when, don't take this the wrong way, Tony, but in the financial services industry,
Hmm.
75 to 80% of those working in the industry are men.
Yeah, probably white males.
Uh,
Mostly.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's luckily it's changing, we see
it
the
is.
stereotype gradually, but it's so slow and gradual. And I think what it takes is people like yourself to make the headway, and you've done so much to make way for others,
Mhm,
for more women to be involved with, and you encourage women to take charge of their finances. Don't just
mhm.
leave it up to your spouse.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Yeah.
we're afraid to ask the wrong questions, so we don't ask any questions. And, I'm going to go back to Taylor here for a minute because I was actually watching an excerpt of her speech when Billboard gave her the award for being the female music artist of the decade a while back. And she was talking about how, as a woman in the music industry, that the more successful she got, that she realized that people were questioning whether it was her ability or whether it was the other male songwriters, co-songwriters and producers, and just the obstacles that she faced at being a woman in the music industry. And the obstacles that she was facing there really come across the board in a number of ways. And again, we have a male dominated financial services industry. We have the financial services industry, for the most part, trying to target men's interests with their advertising. uh, you know, they're naming stadiums, not hospital wings. Um,
Right. Right.
and and I
Good
listen,
point.
I know there are a lot of women out there who like sports. I am not saying that
Sure.
only men like
I
sports.
mean, look at that. You bring up sports almost every show now
I do.
with the Chiefs on a roll. Yeah.
Well, and like we talked about last week, right after the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, I'm saying that optimistically, 12 hours after that, pitchers and catchers report for spring training. So my life is complete.
Right.
Um,
Feb 10th, I think they
yes,
report. Yeah, something like
yes.
that.
But, and culturally, we are taught not to talk about money. That if you have money and you're talking about it, you're bragging. If you don't have money and you talk about it, you're begging. If you think that you have a good idea about money, then what gives you the right to say that? It comes across so many different ways. They will talk to you. If you're working in a corporate environment, you go into this big meeting once a year for your 401k. If you're lucky, you get 5 minutes with somebody, maybe 10, to help you figure out where it needs to be allocated. And they don't know anything about you, and they can't learn anything about you in 10 minutes other than your job title. I think that we need to work to create that space and the environment where we talk about money and where we are open about it, because the only way you learn about something is when you're open about it.
Right. Yeah, you have to be open, and a lot of people, maybe a lot of women out there, put it off or just think, yeah, I need to let them handle it. But you need to step up
Mhm.
and make sure your money's working for you. And I think you at least have to be a part of it. If you're married and your husband has been in charge of the finances, you need to be equally involved, right? You
Right.
can't just
And
stay on the sidelines, right?
no, and I'm not saying that you need to be in there and challenging his decisions and
Right.
trying to make different decisions, but for goodness sake, you need to know where the accounts are, because more than likely you will outlive your husband. And when he dies, whether that is suddenly after a prolonged illness, or if it's that long goodbye with a cognitive impairment like dementia, or something that robs him of speech like a stroke, you owe it to yourself to have the peace of mind to know where the accounts are, what the accounts are doing, what the accounts are for, and who to contact if you have
Yeah.
questions.
And have a relationship with your financial advisor. And if you don't have one,
Yes.
get one and make sure you're attending those meetings with your advisor together. And
Right.
that
I
way,
mean,
if one or the other should pass, this is just as important I mean, in
mhm,
some relationships, the women do handle all the finances. The husband
mhm,
doesn't want anything to do with it. Maybe they're not
right.
into they're like, you take care of the paying the bills. But you need to be involved and have a financial advisor. You're
Mm,
right. If something should happen to your husband, and women typically outlive men. I mean,
mhm,
I
they
think the
do.
stats are by at least 6 years on average. So
Something like that. And I mean, my mom is an accountant, so she very much takes the financial lead
yeah, same
in
with
her
my mom.
household.
She's a bookkeeper and an
Mhm.
accountant. So, yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that I'm sitting here saying that no women do this. I know that there are women that are in charge of this and that handle these things. If you are one of those women, teach your daughters, teach your coworkers. I have been very fortunate over the last few years having been involved in this business. But the more I have taken the lead and started working with women, I have met some really, really smart women who had parents that started teaching them how to trade stocks before they could have a driver's license.
Right.
And understanding the importance of having the right kind of insurance for the right time, understanding, investing for the long haul, not having a knee jerk reaction when there's corrections in the market. There are a large number of women out there that have been empowered that way, but there is a greater crowd that has not.
Right. That's true. That's a great point. The majority have not, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why we're putting together these events like Wine Women in Wealth. I want us to be able to come together, be in a somewhat relaxed space,
Right.
and talk about money, and have a place where women can ask those questions out loud and know that they're in a supported environment to do that. I mean, we used to say there's no such thing as a dumb question. For the most part, that's true.
Mhm.
Sometimes
There are some
like
dumb
fries.
answers.
Well, and
You can look
sometimes
online and get the
yes,
wrong information if that's where you're
agreed.
trying to get your financial advice, or from your neighbor, because they don't know your personal situation,
Right.
right?
And there are times that would you like fries with that is a dumb question. I'm just going to say that, put it out there. Because
Of course.
you either serve the best fries on the planet and we know that we're going to get them, or yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
right.
digress. Can you tell it's almost lunchtime? But, as women, we are, I think we're finally, we're learning to redevelop that sense of community. I think as women re-entered the workforce, a lot of that sense of community changed. And I think that after COVID, when we went through all of that period of isolation, that we're finding out just what social creatures we are, even when we're introverts, and that there is an empowering when you come together, when everybody can collectively share their experiences, their
Mhm.
knowledge, their information, that we are a stronger team together.
Yes.
And that's what we are building with the Wine Women and Wealth Culture here,
Right.
is
And when
just,
is that event?
it's going to be Thursday night, March 6th. Lisa Schreiber from Gradient
Oh,
Investments is
yeah.
coming down and speaking with me that evening.
She is awesome. You
So smart.
Everybody needs to, the people that go to that event and will be attending and reserve a spot are so fortunate, because just because they get to meet her, she's very funny, very
Mhm.
friendly, and they get to hear her accent, which is
Yes,
awesome.
yes, because she is from Austria, but she also takes a lot about financial concepts and makes them very easy to understand.
Yes, she does. She's fantastic.
So anybody from beginner to expert is gonna learn something
Yeah.
at this event.
Yeah, that's a great idea for an event, and I love how you focus on empowering women in your community to make friends with their money, to take
Mhm.
charge of their finances, to know what's happening, and to avoid costly mistakes. Really, that's what it's about, right, Barb?
It is, it is. It's because I want you to have a foundation,
Mhm.
even if taking care of those long-term investments isn't your jam. At some point, you're gonna have to deal with it. And I would rather that you are approaching it at least with some level of knowledge or experience than looking at it like a deer in the headlights, not knowing where to begin.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's so important because, as we've talked about on previous shows, I know, in fact, we just did one recently.
Mhm,
Women face different challenges than men and have more challenges because of longevity. They have a longer
mhm,
time horizon. They have, maybe they didn't work as long.
mhm,
As far as day jobs, maybe they were raising a family while their
mhm.
husband earned Social Security points. So a lot
Yes.
of times they retire and have less for Social
Mhm,
Security income to supplement. So you have to plan for all of that. And that's where you come in. But really, I love it. Make friends with your money. In other words, make sure it's working for you, where it's going.
mhm.
And just the knowledge of that is a huge step, isn't it?
It is. And, education is the foundation of everything.
Hmm.
We moved from being an agrarian nation when we started building libraries.
There you go. That's awesome. Yep.
So, I would rather.
Knowledge is power.
It is. It is. We're going back to Schoolhouse Rock here, aren't we? Um, which is perfectly okay with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Next, we need to just start playing the theme song from Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
we're totally going to be at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it is okay for you to learn about money and to learn about investing and to study it. It doesn't make you, it doesn't mean that you're trying to one up anybody. You're trying to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of times we see situations where a husband and wife have a nest egg. And if the husband is the first one to get sick, there's a lot of times that a disproportional amount of that nest egg gets depleted trying to take care of the husband. And then when he eventually dies, there's very little left if the widow, the surviving spouse, gets sick, or they don't know how to manage what's there. I would rather that you make a mistake in your 20s, 30s, 40s with figuring this out than in your 60s or 70s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it's so costly then because you need a plan and the money in place to last throughout retirement. And that's what you help
Yes.
your clients and people do. So if our listeners out there have a question or they have questions about the event you have coming up,
They can call our office at area code 913-553-6222, or going to give you a little bit different website this time. Go to our website, bgwealthmanagement.com. And under the events tab, you will see the Wine, Women, and Wealth event, and you can click on that event to register to join us. Now, seating is limited, but if we have more people than space, that's a good problem to have, and we'll find a way to fit as many people in there as we can.
yeah, but you need to reserve a space because it
You
will
do need
fill
to
up.
reserve
So,
a space because it is going to fill up. And, we're going to have appetizers, we're going to have wine. I think we're going to have desserts of some sort. So we want to make sure that we have enough food for everybody.
So they can go to BG, that's B as in boy, G as in Gullen,
Yes.
wealthmanagement.com and go to the events tab, right?
Yep. And then they can register from there.
Wine, Women, and Wealth, not necessarily in that order.
Right.
Right.
But if we led with wealth, they wouldn't see the wine. So
That's true. That's true. That's good. That's a good point. No, I like it. Well, Barb, great show today once again.
Thanks, Tony.
And thank you everyone for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our amazing host, Barb Gullen.
We'll see you soon.